such a trendsetter. He's back here doing TikToks. Look at him. Look at him go. Making so much noise. I can't do my video, Brad. So in this week's episode, we're going to put some exhaust on this thing. Make it a little bit quieter. Stay tuned. Now are you done? I'm over here trying to make a video, Brad. Me? Yeah, of this car, and you're making so much noise. Did it work? Yeah, it worked.
You're watching the Vasco Speed Performance YouTube channel.
So this is George's 4th Gen Fbody. I, as you know, own a 4th Gen Fbody, so I'm also a huge fan of these. But he brought us this car. We've actually talked to him for a while about doing some stuff to this thing, but he was finally able to bring it out to us. He's got a little list of stuff we're going to do, so let's take a look at what we're going to knock out on this. So one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing these really cool limiters. He actually had these on the car before, but he switched up the front control arms and stuff, so we need to weld brackets for those. So we got to install that. He's got these lightweight door hinge kit from Rock Solid Motorsports. I've never actually got to do one of these, but another cool product that Rock Solid sells, so we're going to install those. These are the lower torque mounts made by Tick Performance, but Rock Solid, I believe, helped develop these. I think Grubworm ended up having a set of these, so another really cool product that Tick Performance is selling. What else? We got a drive shaft safety sensor, or speed sensor, not safety, drive shaft sensor. And then there's some other control box that he needs installed. Also, while the car is here, we have this tape line. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the glass removed. It's actually a optic armor. Take that out, and we're going to cut that out and basically 10 work all that in. So hopefully we get to use that bead roller we got last episode, and we'll get that knocked out. So I'm gonna get going on this thing, do some time lapses of us doing the door hinges, and you know, we got a nitrous valve we got to put on it and some other things. So let's get to work.
Get that ball valve installed?
Yeah, we got the ball valve installed.
Okay.
Had to
What's that for?
For the nitrous nose.
Nose?
Yeah, it actually broke off the shifter mount, and then I had to re-weld it back on there.
Oh, that's all right though.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But now we're going to work on the Rock Solid.
Now, is it NOS or NOSZ?
I think it's like 4 Z's.
Okay.
Nos. There might be a W in there.
Okay. Yeah, NOS.
Yeah.
It depends if where you're from.
Yeah. Yeah. What about in Kansas City? We just do Z's, no W.
Yeah. You get that in New Orleans, though, they probably have a little bit of some Z's in there and some W's.
Yeah, they definitely have W's in the islands.
Yeah. Well, cool.
So yeah, we're getting ready to start on the Rock Solid hinge kit. We got to take the door panel and stuff off of it, and then we can get to
the inside of it to get your bolts.
So there's a backing plate that you got to run on the back side, and you can't use the factory door side.
Okay.
So you can use the factory bolts for the body side, just not the door side.
Okay.
So you got to take the panel and stuff off so you can put plates and bolts through.
When I used to work at the dealership, we had this deal that was on like a crank. You could go up and down with it, and it would cramp. That would have been nice to have.
That would have been real nice. Yeah, so that's why I'm going to pull the door out, and hopefully I can climb through the other side to try and do it hinge by hinge and not, you know, have to pull the door completely off the car.
Cool.
So.
Shouldn't be too bad.
No, not too bad.
You know what they call this car?
What?
Deadpool.
Oh.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And the font on the back when they push off is the Deadpool font.
That's funny.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
I like that.
Okay, so we got the Rock Solid Motorsports door hinges on. One thing we noticed that in order to get them on, I don't think you can have this bracket here because, or take the door off if you wanted to quick lift it off. So this bracket might have to come off if you have that. But we went ahead and put them on there, and I mean, they're adjusted pretty good. So go ahead and let. That's pretty good for an aftermarket door hinge. Now these doors are already fiberglass from the factory, which is pretty cool, but the customer actually went and did a pretty good job of cutting the factory door panel up and putting a piece of carbon onto it, and then he like left some of it here to morph it to it, and it turned out really, really good. So, but yeah, the fact that the door has its own natural, like, that's freaking cool. That's race car stuff there. Okay, so we're working on Deadpool, and we're putting these, they're basically lower control arm brackets that give you more adjustability on the car. And they want this to be perfectly flat, and if you look, it's kind of crooked. So we've come up with a plan that we're gonna basically put a shim in there and put a bolt in it and hold it in there square. But you end up cutting all of this out where the yellow is marked out, and then you cut all of this off, and then we have to go in and sand it all and clean it all up to make sure it'll be good before we go and weld it. Then we got to go inside the car and make sure there's nothing in there that'll catch on fire before we do it. But that's one thing. And the other thing is, you'll notice if you look here, this is the rod that you hold it by. Now it really doesn't matter in this instance. It does though, because you'll notice how wide this heim is, and this heim will not fit in between these. So what you have to do is the thread, it comes with the correct heims for this. So what we have to do is flip these bars around because they're on backwards. Not a big deal, but I personally like these back at the back anyways because it's easier to adjust. But on an F-body, I get having them up front because your tire and everything's in the way. But not a big deal. So we went ahead and moved those around and installed the correct heim that it comes with. So we're going to work on getting this cleaned up and fit in there. Okay, so it's got these little plates here that kind of go in here, and you can like basically make like little fillers and stuff. What I think I'm gonna do is first cut the parts out that we need cut out, then clean up the majority of it. Then once all that's done, then what I'm gonna do is I'll probably weld it in there flat and square, and then if there's any areas up in the other spots that I want something different, I'll probably just cut something out on the table that'll make it a little bit more finished, I should say. So let me get this stuff cut out, and then we're working on doing that, and we'll set up the time lapse, and then we'll do another video. Okay, so I got the majority of it cut out, and you can see it's still really crooked. Part of the reason it's so crooked is because this is in a precise corner up here and it doesn't line up straight with this. So I might try to come in here with an air hammer and push it over to get it straight. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to space it over. But my particularness of wanting it to fit the way I want it to fit is what's gonna be the problem here. But nevertheless, we'll get it all figured out. So I'm gonna work on getting it the way I want, and then we'll catch back up. Okay, here's what I've come up with. This is a little long. I'll actually end up bending it in here, and then I'll come and weld all the way along here and probably just do some filler in there. I might end up cutting this down after I weld it. I don't know, we'll play it by ear. This piece, I meant it to go all the way up in there, but I might end up just putting a piece in there. I might end up leaving it open. I'm not for sure what I'm gonna do. We'll see. But this is all one little piece here, and it makes it easier because if you're gonna go and try to weld that, that's just a massive gap to try to fill. But that keeps it pretty much square in there how I want it. And then we'll be able to get a good weld here, and then I'll probably just make a triangle piece for over there and get all that filled in. And then this piece here, I cut and then smashed it up to give you more room to put this top bolt in case you need to put a bolt in that location. So. But I think it'll turn out pretty good. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm probably gonna weld this on, or tack this and then weld it off the car. That way it's not a pain to weld, and then come in here and try to weld all this stuff. So let me do some tack weld and then we'll get this thing out of here. Okay, so I've got this welded on here all the way around. So I don't know if I'm really gonna waste the time in going up in there and doing that, because I'm gonna be welding all the way across this. It would just be a little filler panel for there. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna put one there because I just think it'll look better. So if I'm gonna put one there, I might as well put one there. It'll just make me happy. So I don't know if I should just go ahead and weld this in and then put this in afterwards, or I don't know. I guess I'm gonna do it. So I made the decision to do it. I don't know why, but I'm gonna trace this one out, make that one, tack it to this plate before I go and weld this thing in there and kind of see how it looks. But I think it'll look a lot better, have a nice weld here and a nice weld there and weld across there and then a plate up in there, and then I'll probably just MIG weld that and get it all cleaned up. So let me do some more cutting and make a little filler holes. Okay. So I think I got it fitting pretty good. I got it trimmed up. So I'll have to fill a little decent gap there, but I got some good filler for that. So we'll just run it up along through here, run it back into there, come along through here. Once I get this thing welded in, we'll take a look at it after it's all done. Okay. I got it fully welded in, and it's welded all the way around here, all the way around there, and got welded all the way around there. So yeah, I'd say we are good to go there. The only thing left is I would like to probably do something on this, but that's kind of not a great area to try and get in there and TIG weld. So I'll probably just go in there with the MIG welder and do something and try to clean that up a little bit. And then once we're done with that, we'll throw some paint on it. But yeah, I think it looks really, really nice. So it turns out pretty good. That filler piece, if it was me, I probably would sell this piece welded to this. That way you could just do that. But I don't know. They have little pieces that you can kind of cut up and put in there yourself. So I guess if your car's different, it may not work the same. But I don't know. I think it would work pretty good if you did it that way. So, but yeah, that's that. So this is Roy's 5th Gen Camaro. He drove all the way from Arkansas with this car. So pretty cool deal that he traveled that far. I appreciate it, Roy. He's also a watcher of our channel, so you'll get to see your car on here and see what we do to it. But this, I believe he said this is a Gwatney Performance K-member for the 5th Gen Camaro. It's a really, really nice kit. So what we're going to be doing is designing a belly pan for it. Also, it's got open headers, so it's super loud. So what we're going to do is put V-bands on the end of here, and then it'll transition from 3-inch to 3.5-inch. And then let me show you the exhaust that we're going to put on it. We're going to build a custom exhaust for this thing. So this is the exhaust kit we're going to be putting on. I know I'll screw up his name, but we've done these before. I think it's like Hertford Harm, something like that. I think that's what it's pronounced, but really, really cool exhaust kit that he sells. So it's all aluminum. It'll come with, like, you know, V-bands that are stainless on one side and aluminum for the other. And then he'll come with the reducers so that we can go from the headers to the V-band, from the V-band to this V-band to the aluminum. And then he's got these aluminum mufflers with it. So a really cool product. We've done, I think, 2 or 3 of these kits already. So really cool stuff to do. Sounds pretty good. So I'm excited to get this stuff going. So let's get to putting this stuff on. So I'm making progress on the aluminum exhaust for the Camaro that we're working on, the 5th Gen. I'm nowhere near as good of welder as the guy that makes mufflers, but you know, it's all right. So we're getting there. But this is what I came up with. So I went ahead and staggered the mufflers to get them up as high as possible into the tunnel. I went ahead and cut these little plates out, and these are just my spacers to keep the two an inch apart. That way it gives me plenty of room on each side for the mufflers. The only thing I had to do was, in order to get it to go from that transition to this, I had to add 2 more 90s in there. So I got the 90s added in, and now all I have to do is measure this distance, and then I will come up with a straight piece, and then I'll weld all this together. And then once this is made, I'll figure out where it needs to go, and I'll figure out the front half. So, but yeah, kind of a cool little setup. It kind of looks kind of different, but yeah, I think it'll work out good. Okay, so I've got the exhaust fully welded up there. I just got to take it off and weld these. Luckily, they're slip fit, so I marked them, so I should be able to weld them off the car. I don't have to weld them on the car. Went ahead and made these, this hanger for it, marked it several places so I can weld it off the car while I'm doing that. Made these little brackets up here that have hangers on them, so these will hang and pulled the exhaust up tight. But yeah, I think it'll work out pretty good. So let me get this exhaust off and then weld it up, and we'll see how it looks when it's all done and start it up. Okay, I got the exhaust fully welded up. The V-bands are on. So I didn't really go into a whole lot of detail how I made this, but basically I made this rod come across through here and just weld up here. And I had it going underneath there, but it turned out I didn't really like the way it was. So went ahead and cut these off and then just welded them up there. But that's how the hangers will work on that. I made these that have a 1-inch spacer to keep it all spaced and parallel so it'll fit up in there. So, but I figured since it's all aluminum, or as the viewers in Australia call it, aluminium, I figured I will put this on our scale and see how much it weighs. So let me put it on there and we'll see how much this aluminum exhaust weighs. Okay, so it's pretty light though, right?
No, it is.
What do you think it weighs?
I mean, what, like a normal stainless exhaust would probably be like 60, 70 pounds probably?
I'm guessing at least half. So,
yeah. So you figure
30?
35
okay.
pounds-ish?
Okay, so we have this bar on here because it's got 4 pads on it, so we couldn't do that. So this bar with it on there is zeroed out. So we'll stick this on there and see if we can balance it, see how much it weighs.
Try to find a good balance spot.
I think you're kind of crooked, but you got it. Okay. 21.3 pounds. So full exhaust from the headers back with mufflers, 21.3 pounds. It's pretty good weight. Pretty good weight savings.
Yeah.
So and you can pick it up, move it around pretty easily. So cool. Well, if you're wondering to do an aluminum exhaust on a car, there you go. Next up on Roy's Camaro, we are going to be installing a launcher for his parachute. So his old parachute was like this, which is just a normal parachute mount. And I believe this one's actually from Motion Raceworks. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this off and we're gonna weld this on. But I figured I'd show you a little tip that I do whenever I want to cut a straight line and you can't really get this into a bandsaw. Put a hose clamp around it and then draw your line and then take your clamp off. Then you got a pretty good straight line all the way around. So let's do that and then we'll show you how it looks after I cut it up. So I was gonna try and do this in the vise and I didn't like that game plan. So you can see here, like I'm trying to get this to be straight and we need these notches to go parallel with it because that's how you crank this thing up. So you don't want to be cranking it from the top, you crank it from the side. So I am going to mess around with this and see if I can figure out a way to get this square and held in position. That way we can get it welded. So I'll set up the time lapse for this. Okay, so if you don't know about these launchers, they're actually really cool. It's a good alternative. You can just twist this and it pulls your string in for you, and then you take this long rod and shove it through there and that's what holds it in. So let's show you how that goes in. Update on the Camaro, the 5th gen Camaro that we were working on. So we've got all of the exhaust on this thing and it turned out amazing. Sounds freaking awesome. Super lightweight, which is really cool. So that side of it's done. So the next thing I need to do is I need to make a belly pan. This is actually an aftermarket K-member and it is made by Gwatney Performance. And so gonna design a belly pan for this. You'll notice it's fairly wide, so it's probably going to be a decently large belly pan, but yeah, it'll be cool. So we're going to get this knocked out. I went ahead and I bid the launcher on it the other day. I forgot to show all that. So ended up getting the parachute launcher put on, so that's good. So the belly pan is the next thing in the window net, and the window net is actually on its way. So when it shows up, we'll be able to knock it out. So I'm going to work on getting this belly pan done, and then we'll just be waiting on parts. Okay, so here is the belly pan that I designed for the 5th gen Camaro with the Gwatney Performance K-member. So I went ahead and put some angles in it. So I'm gonna work on getting this thing welded up and then we will test it on the car and see how it fits. Okay, well, we made pretty good progress today. I got both of the frame rails in, they're level. I got these bars that go from here to the frame rails on both sides done. I went ahead and I got this small tube in here done. There actually be a diagonal bar that goes from there to this bar, from that bar down to that corner. And then I started on this diagonal and that's gonna go to the transmission cross member. I haven't quite figured out that's where that's gonna go. So I might actually end up moving the transmission cross member forward a little bit. It just makes it kind of a pain whenever you're on those curves, but I'm thinking about making the tube curve down, go across and come back up, and then have a 4-bolt flange on each side. So it's probably what I'm gonna do there. And then when I do that, this bar actually will end up going in more at an angle. So I probably need to figure out the transmission cross member first and then work on that bar from there to there. And then I'll have to make one from here to that corner. This bar is, they call it like a seat bar. You don't necessarily have to have one on this side, but a lot of times I do stuff like that just to make it more uniform, and I think it just looks better. But one thing that I did do is I'm trying to keep everything flat. So that was the whole purpose of redoing all these bars, is before everything went down at an angle and everything was down low. So with these frame rails extended up a little bit like I did, that gives me the ability to keep everything flat, which makes your tin work nicer, a lot of things. But on this bar, what I actually did was I offset it when I notched it. So it's only 1 1/4 inch and this is 1 5/8 inch. So it's actually offset flat with the top of this. So when you lay a piece of metal on there, it's flat and it's not actually below. So I'm gonna try and do that to help also keep the floor flat. So just another little thing.
So last episode, I talked a little bit in depth on the product that we're coming out for the Fbodies, and it is the master cylinder that is reversed. And it also is incorporating with the steering so that you can move the steering over a little bit. So this is the prototype one. When I moved the steering over, I think I moved it over a little further than what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep that for the shop car because I think I can just make it work. But for the production one, I'm gonna move it back just a slight bit so you don't have to have as much of an angle to it, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna work on that. But I wanted to show you something that my dad made. So my dad is a CNC machinist, and he has his own CNC machine at his house. So I came up with this idea, and I told him what I wanted to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at the plate that he made for the front of our brake master cylinder kit. Okay, so here is the part my dad machined. He knocked it out of the park with this thing. So yeah, he went ahead and I think he took, it's 1/2 inch thick aluminum. And then he milled this out. I wanted to kind of follow contour of this whole area here just to make it look like it's supposed to go there. Milled it flat, went ahead and put some countersunk bolts in it. There are actually threads in this piece. That was one of my things. I said, I want this to screw into this. That way it holds it. So when you go to put it on the inside, you just stick this in here and you're not sitting there trying to hold this side and that side at the same time. So that was one of my requirements for it. And then of course I had him put the Vasco Speed Performance logo in there, and he went ahead and milled that in there and did a great job. So he's actually working on this part next. So this is gonna be probably not as thick. I don't know, we'll see what he makes, but it'll be another piece that goes here, and that'll be part of the kit, and you'll have your brake lines coming through all 4 of these holes, or 4 brake lines coming through these holes, and then you'll have your brake reservoirs up here. So yeah, we're making progress on it, but hopefully within a few weeks we'll have it ready to go, and we can actually start offering it to. So that's an update on the Mustang for this week. We didn't really make a whole lot of progress on it. You know, we got Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff coming up, so not for sure how much progress we will make, but Troy and I have gotten together, working on the cage pretty diligently. So once the tubing shows up, I've got more tubing coming for the car. Once my tubing shows up, we'll be able to showcase all that side of it. I think I'm going to design my own K-member. We'll kind of go into a little bit of depth on that. But the next thing we need to do is start cutting out and making room for the torque boxes and the mini tubs on it. So that's probably what we'll end up working on next on the Fbody. And then we'll cut the floor out of this thing and hopefully put a cage in it and just keep chucking away and making progress. So hopefully we can get racing this thing sometime. A little update on the Chevelle. So everything's good to go. It seems to be running fine. So we're good there. The next step is he wanted to do brakes and gears. So we actually have the gears and stuff here for it already. And we are actually going to be putting a set of TBM brakes on the front of this thing. So the TBM brakes are on their way. Hopefully I'll have them today, so next week we can get rocking on the brakes on this thing and get this thing back on the road for him. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, and it's getting cold out. So, you know, we all got to get out here and we got to work on these things. That's the way they get done for the springtime. So hopefully this is a little bit of motivation for you guys. So I appreciate ever coming by the channel and checking it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.